White Shark Video Sharkcast. I am your host, Skyler Thomas. My guest today is Eli Martinez. If you're like me, you might have first heard about Eli from being the backwards cap guy interacting with tiger sharks and other sharks. But Eli has expanded beyond that. He leads expeditions with numerous species, and he's become quite the photographer also. Just going through some of the photos on his site and Instagram, these are really spectacular. And some pretty amazing encounters with other species, but also the sharks. And we're going to mostly focus on tiger sharks today. If you want to join Eli on any of his expeditions, it's SDM Adventures, sdmdiving.com. Eli's one of the nicest guys I've gotten to hang out with and talk to, so it's nice to talk to him again today.
Man. It's just good to talk to you again. I went out and I have a memory. I think we were drinking Miller's on the boat in Florida. I don't know why. I don't know if that's your beer or why we were drinking them, but I just felt nostalgic. And
yeah, it was definitely my brand at the time for sure, man. Yeah.
You believe that's almost a decade ago?
Was it? It's actually it was a pretty good little piece we ended up doing, that was quite a bit of fun, just the whole lemon shark story and still, I still stand by my thoughts as that being one of the most intelligent of the shark species, if not the most intelligent. But yeah, that was a good little piece that you did way back then.
Well, it was not really a plan. I think it was just that you were fun to talk to and willing to do it. And I was, it was a completely amateur little side thing. And you're right. It ended up being one of the more popular things that I threw up on YouTube for a while. But we'll give you credit for that. So another 10 years has gone by, and you stand by lemon sharks being one of the most intelligent, if not the. Let's dive into that. Because there's a lot of competition out there that the lemon sharks are beating.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just, just from just the personalities of the animals, the fact that what I'm seeing from them is a lot of, there's the social hierarchy, and not only that, the way they communicate with each other through some kind of telepathy or Bluetooth download or whatever it is that they do. I'm not really sure. But yeah, I mean, there is something there. I think that, that really shows, I think a superior intelligence over a lot of other shark species. And, I mean, it could be biased, but, I just, like,
you could say that the things you described, we could attribute to a lot of sharks. So I want to nail you down to an example. Tell me something you saw that made you think, wow, this is different.
Well, there's when it comes to like their ability to learn, it's super fast. One of the first times I'd ever given a lemon shark a back scratch, where I had a lemon shark swim up to me, I was kneeling on the ground, and it actually put its head between my knees and then just laid there. And then I just started scratching its back. And actually, when it first did that, it stopped, it like tucked its face in my knees and it stopped swimming. And so I kind of weirded out a little bit. So I backed up, and then it swam forward and like jammed its head in there again. So I was like, okay, well, it's doing this purposely. So then I started giving him a back scratch. That was like one of the very first times that it was actually something that they were allowing to do. It wasn't like now where every shark, I mean, almost every shark that stops swimming at Tiger Beach, you can almost swim right up next to it and start, stroking its back, and they'll all accept it. They all actually, most of them enjoy it. But this was actually one of the very first times it happened. And
give us a year. A long time ago.
Yeah, this is probably 12 years ago, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It was a long time ago. I'd have to go
What
through the archives for that.
what you just described immediately makes me think of nurse sharks. I've seen nurse sharks swim up in between people's legs, but a lemon shark did this.
Yes. Yeah,
Cool.
correct. And then,
Cool.
but the thing was during that same week, I all of a sudden had a bunch of different lemon sharks that I really hadn't worked with before, all laying down next to me, all asking for back scratches, all just like just out of the blue, not like something that I hadn't worked with any of these animals before. So it was just like really um just mind-blowing stuff, as far as behavior goes. And it was just all brand new, and it was just, something I'd never seen before. So taking from that example that there was something there. And then now, like even now to this day, so we'll be in the middle of a feed, and we have tiger sharks coming in, we have all kinds of shark activity. There's divers all around. And for whatever reason, a lemon shark will just swim up right in the middle of it and will lay down next to the box. Like all this activity, tigers swimming around, and just feeling comfortable and confident enough to where it's just stop swimming and just like right in the middle of the traffic. Why they do that to this, I really don't know. But I mean, it's just, to me, it's just fascinating that they would even consider doing that. I mean,
Let
they're
me
one of
paint,
the, huh?
let me paint a picture for people that haven't been on one of these dives or that aren't
Okay.
very familiar with or haven't even gone scuba diving with sharks. You're talking about a runway of great big tiger sharks and Caribbean reef sharks and other species whipping in and out, wanting some food or smelling the scent. And this lemon shark says, well, this is a great place to lay down and relax right in the middle of all that.
Exactly. That's what I find the most intriguing or fascinating is like, why would they choose to like lay down here? And that's even better because I mean, there's food scent. So there's smell of bait in the water, there's smell of chum, in the current line, and the shark is kind of ignoring it and just laying down and not really trying to get a snack or to get something from the bait box. It's just laying down, right
Because with
there.
their sense of smell, nobody could pretend that, well, the shark just doesn't know where it is. It would be looking for it like all the rest of them. If that was
Exactly.
its goal.
Exactly. And then, sometimes it'll, the shark will swim around and try to get to the bait, or, hoping that, we might hand a piece of bait over to the lemon shark. I mean, they're not trying to get it, but then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they'll just stop swimming and hang out and, with like, for no reason whatsoever. You're just resting.
Let me take you back to the very first lemon shark that you experienced him coming between your legs and resting. Did you have a bait box near you at the time, or was that just completely
Yeah.
interested in you?
No. It was definitely bait box. I mean, I'm not completely blind to the fact that there's bait related in the encounters that we do. The only reason that we actually have all these sharks hanging around the area is because of the chum and the bait and the scent that's there. Like, I mean, these are baited dives, and you get all these sharks hanging around the area because there's bait involved in these shark dives. But the fact that like still that these sharks are ignoring the fact that there's bait and just laying there in the sand right next to you, just that, to me, it's fascinating.
But you would never claim that you could go out there without bait and the sharks would come to you just because they missed you.
No, I think I've mentioned in the past, if I was out there for a year straight, I truly believe that we could potentially get a shark to recognize me. Like if I was there every day for a year.
Same spot.
Yeah, I believe that is potentially possible, but because I'm only there for maybe a month out of the year, like I don't, like it's not enough time truly build a relationship past energy slash previous experiences, to where the sharks recognize what I'm doing, as far as, like I don't feel like they recognize me. I feel they recognize the energy, because I do the same things when I'm interacting with the animals, as far as rubbing their faces, or just as they come by, doing a lot of the same things. And I think that is familiar to them. And then, because you can actually almost feel the sharks relax after a few spins around. They come in, right at the beginning. But I there's a lot of like, okay, I've been here before. I can relax,
I interviewed someone the other day who had done Fiji. I assume that you've gone to Fiji.
Yeah.
Have you done okay?
A couple times.
And you did bull sharks and tiger sharks there?
Yes.
And
I did tigers back in 2004 or 5, somewhere around there, where we saw the tigers there. The tiger came in, but we didn't have any. I didn't work with the tiger. We weren't working with them. We just it just came in, and that was pretty much the extent of it. It's mostly been bull sharks.
that's pretty early on in Shark Reef recovering, right? Or becoming a dive site.
Yeah. It was definitely in those early days, somewhere around there, 2005. Maybe it was 6 or 7. I don't know. It's been, this is 20 years of doing this. So,
But it wasn't enough. The tiger sharks you didn't interact with them enough to compare their personality or behavior to the ones in the Bahamas.
no, definitely. I mean, I would love to. I'd love to get back out there and play with those tigers and see what kind of personalities they have. I mean, it's the bigger sharks, and those sharks are a lot wilder than the ones here. They don't get the kind of interaction or the amount of time, which I think is extremely important. The amount of time that we're able to spend with these animals really, I think, is important in their behavior. And yeah, you just, they don't spend that kind of time with the animals when they're in the water there in Fiji.
Yeah, well, they're so much deeper than the Bahamas that they kind of can't. You got to come up.
Yeah, exactly. That's what makes the Bahamas such a special place. Is, I mean, it's just so unique in the shark world, as far as what we're able to do, and for the amount of time that we're able to do it, just because of the depths. Yeah.
And as special as it is, if I'm reading a post on your Instagram profile correctly, you've kind of stepped away. You're ready for new chapters, and I can see you've already done quite a few new adventures beyond sharks. So you're kind of saying goodbye to the Bahamas?
No, far from it, man. It's just my boys, David. He's actually working there now, and building up quite a bit of an interesting resume, working with the tigers there, and learning how to work with them, learning how to interact with them, and so yeah, he's been doing a good job, and it's impressive. Like, we used to go there, and he was just learning and learning how to interact with them, and then now he's we go over there, and it's kind of as equals, which I think is pretty fantastic.
I remember meeting him when I shot over to talk with you last time. Yeah, that's cool that he stuck with it and is doing well.
Yeah. He went over to Phantom Divers, and he was living there for about 8 years, and was their lead shark feeder there for the bull sharks. And then it was time he wanted to change, and then moved over to. He's been at the Bahamas now for, I guess, half a year, maybe longer, probably almost a year, probably. So yeah, he's been there a while now.
And are the Tigers still doing well there?
They are, and we still got a few of the same players that I've seen from the beginning. Emma's still there, and Tequila. We've lost a couple of them, but for the most part, a lot of the same sharks that we were seeing in the beginning are still the same ones that we're seeing now. So yeah,
Right.
really
There's so much
special.
there's so much fishing going on there. I cringe. I'm like, oh man.
It's scary. It's scary, man. You go back every year, and especially Emma, because she's like probably, if not the oldest player of Tiger Beach.
Hmm.
She's definitely she's been there the longest, and she, the fact that she's still here, she's banged up and scraped up and looks a little worn, but she's still there, man. She is, and that makes it even more magical, so when you get there, because she leaves every summer, and she returns back in the wintertime. So, you're just cringing, like, okay, well, where's she going? And is she leaving the Bahamas? And, is she going to come back? So it always makes it, really sweet when, you show up there in October, and there she is. And so it's been nice, man. Yeah. Been going there, 17 years now. So it's quite a few years. Yeah.
Speaking of people who are missing seeing sharks that they go back to a location for, and speaking of protecting sharks from fishing, let's talk about Guadalupe. How do you feel about Guadalupe shutting down?
Man, what a political mess that is. I don't really know what's going on. There's so many stories that come out of that place. There's
Mm.
from the drug runners that are landing on Guadalupe Island, and that's one of the silent stories you hear in the background. Is that's one of the reasons it's being shut down, to the new CONAT people that don't like ecotourism. So they decided they want nothing to do with it, and so they're going to change it up, and just basically no tourism whatsoever. And so I don't know how that affects the film crews, but definitely the liveaboard boats that have made a living from there. It's tough, and it's a tough new law. I think it's
How
terrible.
about the sharks? Are the sharks better off or worse off?
Uh, definitely worse. I mean, because you're just opening it up to the shark fishermen. I mean, a valuable a jaw can, you know, a full grown white shark jaw is worth, what, 50 to 100 grand, and the fins, who knows how much those are worth. But the trophy hunters, I mean, it just opens them
Mhm.
up for that. The poachers, it opens up the white sharks. I mean, I think one of the biggest things that has helped the protection of the white sharks there is ecotourism, because as long as there's a liveaboard boat there, the shark fishing boats can't come in. So, that, having a boat there, liveaboard boats all season just kept them safe. So I think they're worse off without the liveaboards. I mean, it's not perfect, having all the liveaboard boats out there, and I think there was too many. I think there was too
Mhm.
many permits. Um, but it's all they got. It's a double-edged sort of ecotourism.
You don't have faith that the Mexican Navy is going to be patrolling out there in place of the tourism boats effectively, or
Uh,
whatever the replacement is supposed to be.
that unfortunately, man, it's I don't know, man. Like, those guys can be bought and sold pretty easily, and when you're making pennies really for a living, and some guy, dumps, 5 grand in your pocket, says turn the other way, it's going to be real easy to turn the other way. So it's I think it's kind of a dark time for the White Sharks of Guadalupe, but we'll see. I'm hoping that they're gonna set some laws up, and maybe in the next 2 or 3 years we might be able to get back out there. But for right now, we'll just see what's gonna happen.
I remember interviewing a local fisherman in the Bahamas. I think I was in Bimini, and we were just talking about fishing regulations. And they're like, "Well, here's the thing: when you put forth those laws, or you create a sanctuary, or this or that, and then you say, well, no one's allowed in here. You really just kept out the people that are going to obey the rules, and have opened. It's an open field for all the people that were planning on breaking the rules anyway."
Yeah. Well, like, it's, yeah, in the Bahamas, they eat turtles you're not supposed to eat turtle, but they still eat turtle there. They call it hush hush.
Jeez.
So yeah, so if we're serving hush hush tonight, that's sea turtle. So like, yeah, unfortunately I mean, all you can do, without policing a place, even though you have a marine sanctuary, and if there's nobody there to police it, there's nobody there to see it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, unless somebody actually reports you, who's going to know that you're out there catching sharks or catching turtles or whatever it is that you're doing? You might get a slap in the hand too by the local authorities, like, hey, stop coming out here.
Exactly. And the people in the past that broke some rules in Guadalupe, sorry, I'm having some focus problems going.
Okay.
A lot of people want to point fingers at antics that have taken place in Guadalupe, and I'm certainly not saying that some of those antics weren't bad. Certainly some sharks got hurt. But was anyone ever really punished to an extent that would discourage it before the Mexican government just all of a sudden went, well, we're going to end it all? Were there ever really any spankings that made people take it seriously?
No, it was always one of those things that was frowned upon. It was never really, they never really like charged anybody for anything. They just said no. We went out there with a film crew once, and we were going to do some out of cage stuff, and they told us like, hey, you do it, and you're gonna get banned from Guadalupe forever. So our boat turned around and went back. We left. We didn't even try it. So but for the liveaboards, or for the operators that were actually out there, it was always kind of like, just don't do it, and out of cage stuff, just don't film it, and that kind of stuff that they were talking about. But I think it's a bullshit excuse, because they could have easily said, if that's what it was, well, because of all these people getting out of the cage, or all these people doing these craziness with the cages and the feeding, you just fine the operators. If you fine a liveaboard 15, 20 grand, and if you want your permit, you got to pay this because you've been letting people out of the cage. That's money that the government keeps right away, and these guys are going to pay it because they want to keep their permit. But it just didn't make sense that say, okay, well, we're just going to ban the entire, nobody's going to get to go shark diving now because these guys were getting out of the cage. I call bullshit on that. That's short-sighted if that's what they're thinking. I think there's something else going on, whether it's the the CONAP government or the new guy in charge really doesn't like tourism, but that just doesn't make any sense to me. But if it was because people are getting out of the cages, I don't think that's what it was.
So they've gotten rid of the tourism dollars, and they also got rid of the potential to bring in big money in the form of fines, and just kiboshed it all.
Exactly. They could have fined the shit out of a lot of operators for the antics that they did. If you want your permit, you got to pay this fine, and they could have made a big chunk of money just with that alone, just with the fines. I know that as far as the fees that the government gets, I know it's not crazy amounts of money that they're getting from the liveaboards, because it was like I don't even remember what the fees were per day, like $50 or $100 per day or something like that every person that visited the park had to pay. But and that amounted to quite a bit of money. But at the end of the day, I really think that there's got to be something else that is driving this decision. And
they also lost out on some employment. A lot of the crews were made up of Mexican locals, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, the majority of them were, I was kind of one of the things I thought, well, because most of the boat owners are not Mexican nationals. That might have been the reason why they're like, well, it doesn't matter, because it's all foreigners that are coming in and working in these, and, as far as getting their permits and working in these waters. So, that could have been another alternative or one of the reasons that they potentially might have wanted to shut it down. But I don't know. I think it's just something more.
He could have had a program that transfers power over to local operators, locally owned operators. Or is Fernando not Mexican? Aguilar?
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
But but the
He the only one?
not, there's a lot of, quite a, few operators out of San Diego area. The Solmar is, and the Cantamar, or the Southern Sport is Mexican owned boats. But the rest of, like, the Nautilus, I think, had 5 or 6 boats, and he's from Canada originally, I think. But
So speaking of antic, a guy in Fiji was talking about how people in other parts of the world do things with tiger sharks that he feels that they shouldn't. And of course, you've dealt with this sort of criticism your entire career. Are there lines? Are there things that you've seen where you thought, okay, that was too much. That was like disrespectful of the shark, or it was careless. And how much have you changed and decided what is an acceptable interaction and what is going too far?
I mean, I don't play with the tigers as much as I used to. That's just more of, I guess, as been doing I've been working with the tigers for quite a long time. I can kind of sense when they're kind of had enough, or they're not interested. And, I mean, that just comes with just understanding their behavior a lot better through the years, and, trying to see, like, playing with them mostly for me now is when they feel like playing, and I'm not trying to get them to play. I can feel it when they feel like, I was like, okay, I can feel that she's interested in wanting to interact. It's more, I mean, we'll play every once in a while, and I definitely don't play with them as much as I once did. And I guess, that does come with age, I guess. But it's more of just, I mean, my respect for the animals, and my, the way I feel about them, and the way I enjoy interacting with them, that's changed. I've seen, and now, like, when, obviously through the years, yeah, I mean, I've been criticized for this, and like I've said in the past, I mean, it's not, for me, these interactions are not what's practical, but what's possible. And, the opportunity to learn from the animal, and the opportunity to learn behaviors and why they do certain things. And that to me is what it was always about. It wasn't, for me, it wasn't about feeding them and trying to give them food. It was always, the food was the tool to get the animal to come in and interact with it. That was always what I looked at it as. It was, I tried to bring minimum amounts of food, and so that we could, try to, interact with the sharks as much as possible, versus feeding them and just trying to get mouth shots and that kind of negative behavior that, that I didn't want from the sharks. But, I wanted them to hang around long enough to interact with them, of course. I've seen, this world open up to, the younger generations in now, and there's a lot of people playing with tigers now, and sharks and lemons, and in Florida and Bahamas, and, on the different boats, and it's good and it's bad. Like, you sit there and you make sure you're hoping that everybody's going to be okay and nobody's going to get hurt, and but that's, like, you work with dogs, you're eventually going to get bit. Same thing with sharks. Like, you work with them long enough and somebody's going to get hurt, which has happened in the past. But I mean, that's just the evolution of these interactions and the evolution of I guess the progression of the sport or progression of the work with the animals.
Something really interesting that you said was how, in your experience, you just learned to pay attention to the shark's body language or just their energy. And, you respected that. You're like, okay, they're not in the mood today, or she's not in the mood today, or he's not in the mood today. And what that made me think of is, well, if this interaction is a draw, maybe some of these other operators or new operators aren't going to pay attention to what the tiger shark wants because they're there to do that, period. They're not there for what the tiger shark wants. They're there for what the people want to see. And so they might ignore the body language from the shark and push the envelope too far.
Well, a lot of that has to do with time in the water. I mean, that for sure. I realize, I mean, that, I was doing the math on this last trip. I'm definitely the longest shark feeder that has been working with tigers in the Bahamas, as far as, from when we started to where we are today. And, I mean, it's a lot of the cast of characters I've seen, feeders come and go through the years, so it's as far as longevity, there isn't a lot of people that have been working with these animals that are still working with these animals, like, years and years later. That has definitely changed. So, I mean, that, it's because of that, you're not going to, there's not going to be that kind of like, well, I really, really know these animals, I can maybe count, on one hand, the people that I would say like, okay, yeah, I could see they're pretty decent with the animals and know what they're doing and but that are still around, like there's some good shark feeders that have come and gone, but they're no longer working with the animals anymore.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
What's an example of a signal a tiger shark might give you that tells you, no, not today?
They jerk their heads, like, you put your hand on a tiger's head and she'll, snap or just like, you could feel, like almost like, don't touch me, like it's, like it's just, like, because part of what I do. So, I mean, because there's always multiple tigers. So, I mean, my first instinct is always to put my hand on a tiger's head in case because I'm always looking around for the other tiger. So if I got one tiger, in front of me, I'll put my hand on her head, and then I'll be just kind of scanning around to make sure that no other tigers are coming up behind me or I mean, not just keeping an eye on the other tigers for myself, but to make sure everybody that's in the water is safe as well. So, but as soon as I put my hand on her head, you can feel the twitch or the don't touch me, that kind of thing. And that to me is the easiest way to determine, like, okay, she's not in the mood. And because sometimes you put your hand on her head and she won't move at all, she doesn't react, she just, okay, it's a hand on my head, that kind of thing. But other times you can feel them kind of wiggle or just give that little bit of a twitch, and you're like, all right, she's not in the mood,
And I think I've seen you in times where the runway was busy and you had your hand on two tiger sharks' head while having to look around. Like you had to double hand them, man.
Yeah. Well, definitely that's all part of, because that way I can feel if she, because all of a sudden, they might decide to put on a burst of speed and then just kind of rush in. And this allows me to kind of gauge, how fast the animal's moving and who I need to pay attention to. And because they're so close, and, the idea is to keep that little health bubble or that little safety bubble between me and the tiger's head, just to make sure that, nothing dangerous happens.
Tell me if I was mistaken to think I saw a behavior with tiger sharks more often with other ones, where they come up over the diver and then suddenly turn around and seem to go for the tank from behind. Is that a tiger shark thing, or do they all do that?
No, yeah, that actually might be a jitterbug thing. Like it's jitterbugs, a very notorious temperamental tiger shark. She's got kind of normally the sharks have this flat head. She's got kind of like a concave, her head, the tiger's head's like this. Hers is kind of like this, which looks like she sustained some kind of damage as a very young tiger. And we're thinking she's got some kind of brain damage or some kind of just something that she is nonstop, like one of, I think, the most dangerous tiger shark at Tiger Beach. She's just, you just sometimes dread having her around because she has and continues to try to take a bite out of somebody.
Wow.
Yeah. But, and then not so much guests, but anybody at the bait box. She's definitely one of these sharks that you cannot not keep an eye on. She's just always been a terror. So, since we've met her, and she was just a little 6-foot tiger shark when she first started coming in, and now she's around 10 feet, maybe 9.5, 10 feet. So she's a big shark now, and used to be cute, and, and now it's just like she's just, you're hoping she would outgrow this behavior, but I think there's just something wrong with her. And she's definitely one of these tigers that we really have to keep an eye on all the time. You have to keep an eye on tigers all the time, but she's like double, like, watch her always.
And is that a go-to move for her, or does she just try and bite people in any way that she can?
Well, see, like most tigers, like when we have a bait box in the water, most tigers come in low, really close to the sand. Reef sharks come in high, probably around eye level. And she does the same. She has never come in low, always comes in high, like a reef shark. So she's, like always on your face. And the moment that she comes in, you have to put your hand on her face because she'll come in and she's like trying to grab something. Like she comes in, she wants to bite. Like she does. Like I'm not going to sugarcoat anything about that tiger. She is definitely a very dangerous shark. Yep.
It's not that she specifically wants to bite the diver. She just wants to get something because she's there for the smell, and she's not as patient, or whatever the brain trauma was, or her Jaws the Revenge. She remembers a fisherman from childhood, and
yeah, no. There's nothing personal about what she's trying to do. She's a shark, and she's there's scent in the water, and she's trying to find that scent, and she's extremely aggressive about it. She's definitely a lot calmer when the scent's not there. When the smell is not there, she's super mellow. But when the scent is in the water, yeah, she's definitely an agitated, excited shark. Yep.
you look like you're in control pretty much always. And the closest thing that I see that would make me nervous is when they do a repeated snap. Like sometimes instead of just being pushed down or pushed away, they'll go, and you've got to keep is that do you ever feel a little bit of a rush, or is it just too every day for you?
No, it's never every day. I mean, I'm as contrary to popular belief, I'm always scared. I'd be scared if I wasn't scared. That's just and I'm it's more of scared for making sure. I want to make sure everybody's going to be okay in the water. I never forget what these animals are and what they're capable of. That's something that, even after working with these animals and being around them for 20 years, that it's still something that it's in the back of your mind that, accidents could happen. And I know that there's still to this day a crowd of people waiting for something bad to happen to me so that they could sit there and point their finger and say, see, I knew it. That deal. And so I never forget what they are and what they're capable of. That's for sure. So for me, it's more of I'm always ready and on got my A game on, so to speak. You can't fall asleep because, that's when accidents happen. And, I never feel, never want to get so confident that I'm like, I got this, I got this. Don't worry, like, no, that you don't, you never do, but yeah, when they're popping, when they jaw pop like that, when they're just, coming and getting, super excited and they're trying to get to me, and, that's just, that's how they hunt. And that's part of how they, if they got a turtle there, they're trying to catch a fin, and it's what they do. I just understand that, and I keep one hand on their face, and and just try to keep that little safety bubble between me and the animal, so that I don't I don't make a mistake, and you just work really hard, and do everything you can to make sure that the interaction is safe, and the people around me are safe, and the animal is safe.
I did an episode, it was part of a series I did called Stupid Things People Say About Sharks. And one of them was, you play with fire, you're going to get burned, or it's just a matter of time. And, based on what you just said, can we talk about that for a little bit?
Sure.
Because the absurdity of someone spending their entire life in the water with these animals successfully, and then for something to go wrong and then just jump on it as if that proves everything that person's ever accomplished wrong, just drives me nuts. Because I could make a prediction like that hey, if you step out your front door enough times, you're going to fall and break your leg. And when someone does it, then I get to be like, ha, told you, porches are bad. What is the deal with people not wanting you to be, or anyone to be successful with sharks?
Because people want to be proved right, that they're dangerous, that they're, like that's.
But they are dangerous. You're not saying they aren't dangerous.
I get that, but that they're man eaters. Like, like, you can't do this. Like, no, it's not real. It's not real. Like I'll be in the water, and there's pictures I've taken of people in the water with crocodiles, and they're like, oh, there's glass between them and the animal. Like, it's just, they're always trying to find ways to accept it in their mind. And they, and it's just because this is not possible. Like, this is, I've never, this is, no, that's always been my big thing is, like, everything we think we know about sharks is wrong. And, trying to understand that behavior and understand the intelligence behind the animal, and sharing this other side of these animals that people don't ever get to see. And so that is really one of the main reasons why, is that people just can't accept the fact that, no, there's another side of these animals. Like, no, there's not. It's just a man eater, and that's it.
And now that you've spent a lot of time with other species, could we extend this to the other species that basically we didn't really understand any of them? And
exactly, like, I mean, all of them, I mean, they're just, but that was kind of the whole point. I mean, that's really what at this point in my career, what I've done is, it's not it's the sharks, it's the crocodiles, it's the snakes, it's the, the orcas, and, I mean, because that's really what it was. I mean, in the beginning, when we first started diving with tiger sharks, they said, well, you can dive in the cage with tiger sharks, and they prove, okay, well, we're out of the cage. Okay, well, you can dive with them during the day, but you can't do it at night. Okay, then we started doing it at night. Well, you can dive with tigers outside the cage, but you can't do it with the white sharks. Then they started diving with whites outside the cage, and then they're like, okay, well, you can do it with whites, but you can't do it with crocodiles and alligators. And then it was being proven that it was done, and like, okay, well, yeah, maybe you can dive with alligators, but you can't dive with orcas outside the,
right.
and it was always something. There's
right.
always some way to try to justify why you can't do it, and that's really
they weren't hungry that day.
Huh? Yeah, they weren't hungry.
They weren't hungry that day.
Yeah, we got, like, I had a video of me and an anaconda in the water go viral, and it was, like, just stupid amount, like, I want to say almost 50 million views. And the comments on it really were more about, like, well, the only reason he's able to do that is because the animal ate.
Right.
His belly was full, so, he wasn't hungry, so that's why he's safe. Like, there's just, they have to justify it in their mind because they cannot comprehend that it's possible.
Yep. Yep. Hey, so let's talk about your experience with reptiles, because I've had reptile handlers tell me that they are a little bit different. That you got to watch yourself a little bit more. They're a little bit more cold-hearted snakes. Any truth to that, or or do the personalities shine through?
I mean, as far as like, well, I mean, because I don't have a lot of experience with snakes other than anacondas. I mean, I just really, when I first started, one of the main reasons I wanted to dive with the anaconda was to destroy, help destroy the myth or find out about the myth, because they thought like, oh, it's like one of the other big predators, the shark, the crocodile, the anaconda, the orca, the leopard seal. Like, I mean, these are all man eaters, or these are all killers. And so the anaconda was just one of those that I wanted to get in the water with, because I wanted to find out, like, okay, well, let's learn about this predator. And what I've found in all the time that I've been in the water with it is they want nothing to do with you. And anytime you're in the water with them, they just swim away. And you actually feel almost guilty, because you're trying to take pictures of an animal that's trying to run away from you. It's
Yep.
like, it's not like this. There's not that animal wants nothing to do with us whatsoever.
Yep.
It's just,
I won't say names, but when I was a kid, I can remember watching some of those TV personalities turn into the camera, like, I have to go and do this in order to understand this animal. And the poor snake just is trying to get away so badly. Just
yeah.
doesn't want anything to do with the human being. And
No, not at all, man. So, but
you
huh?
did I see that you have successfully photographed snow leopards? Isn't that one of the biggest challenges that's out there?
Yeah, we went out there. Matter of fact, I just got back from that trip a couple of days ago. We were in the Khyber. We were in the Himalayas in Khyber National or Wildlife Sanctuary, and which is home for snow leopards, and yeah, we went out there and ended up having just an epic time with these animals. And we got there, it started snowing, like a couple of days before we arrived, and which is, you need the snow. I mean, for the trackers to be able to find these animals, I mean, they blend in so well with their environment. I mean, they are difficult to find. Yeah, definitely deserving of the name ghost cat, because they are very difficult to find. But thankfully we got snow, and we were able to track a bunch of animals, and I think we found 6 cats in 3 days, that 3 different days that we had them, and yeah, it was phenomenal experience.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
And
Super fun.
you just got back from India and Bengal
Yeah.
tigers.
Yeah. That's when we on the way back from the Himalayas, we stopped by to see if we could find some Bengal tigers. And yeah, when I think we were only there, it was a quick trip for us, but it was like 3 days of looking for them, and we found them on their first day, and got a quick 10-second encounter that was just phenomenal, man. What a gorgeous cat! What a beautiful cat, man. It really
Incredible.
is. Yeah.
How are they doing? I feel like they got persecuted pretty badly for a while.
They are. I mean, they're deservingly so. I mean, sadly, they are definitely man eaters, and they do take a lot of lives out there in India, especially. But there's so many people. I think it's like 1.42 billion is the population. It's the biggest population on the planet. And and you got these small pockets of wildlife. These refuges they're small, for these massive cats. And then there's just so many. Like when we were there was ladies walking, these dirt roads that we're going into the sanctuary to look for tigers, and then there's like ladies going there to collect wood, from the forests, that they're bringing back to their village. I mean, that's yeah, of course that stuff is going to happen. I mean, you're looking at, I mean, there's a lot of times when you're going to have these accidents happen because there's they're living in the same places, same environments. Kind of like bull sharks being responsible for all these accidents with people because they share the same waters as the people that are in the water, the snorkelers and or the people just, in the type of water that people are. There's bull sharks, in these same murky waters. It's kind of the same thing with these tigers out in the world. I mean, people are sharing the forests with these guys.
And not just that, but there's only a few forests left for these tiger sharks. I mean, there's only a few forests left for these tigers, and we're still going into even those ones, and then upset that we run into tiger
no,
sharks.
It's nonstop, man. I mean, it's the deforestation. They're losing their habitat like crazy. And they're crowding the shit out of them. I mean, it's so. I mean, yeah, explosions are going to happen when that, because of that reason. They're just more and more demand. I mean, we're insatiable with our demand for land. We really are. It's human greed and just people needing, just outgrowing the places that they're at.
I'm living in a place right now where I'm watching the urban sprawl replace habitat, and every now and then I'll see a coyote, and I'm just like, how are you alive? How are you surviving here? Because there's nowhere for him to go on the left. There's nowhere for him to go on the right. And we're building on top of that. And I mean, a coyote is not as exotic as a tiger shark, but I mean, as a tiger, but it's really the same principle. We're committing that crime against all these incredible animals that we, grew up thinking were the best thing ever. And now here we are just, well, a building is more important.
Yeah. I mean, it's maybe not as exotic as a tiger, but I mean, it's still deserving of an opportunity to live in its environment. I mean, unfortunately, we're doing that here where I live. I mean, it's just you just see subdivision after subdivision after subdivision. It's just nonstop. I mean, this insatiable need to destroy forests and build more housing. Like, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Well, and you're building this development's taking place on top of locations where those animals instinctively traveled across for millennia. And now we're supposed to think that they just understand to ignore all of those migration instincts and
exactly
stick to the zone week. Anyway, we're going down a direction there. I want to talk to you about something that was probably pretty fun for you. I met Andy Murch on my first trip to Guadalupe, and you guys did a little cross country, little impromptu film, didn't you? Like drive across the land and do some shark diving here and there.
Yeah. Back in 2006, I produced a film called Summer of the Sharks. It was kind of my tribute to Endless Summer and Long Way Round. It was just a buddy road trip that I kind of I was inspired by those two films and I wanted to do something similar to that, but in the shark diving genre. And we did that. Oh man, we filmed it in 2006, kind of at the beginning of both our careers. We were both he was just a budding photographer and shooting, and I was the editor of the magazine, Shark Diver magazine, and he was, we just went off on this road trip and had a blast, learned together, just had a bunch of adventures and we tried to film the experience. And it was, it's always something that I really enjoyed doing, which was, making films and because I felt like the storytelling, there's no better, I guess, vehicle to tell a good story except through film. Like you can write about it, but it's such a visual world, especially shark diving and, the underwater world. You can take pictures, but to be able to tell a story, visually, I think is the best medium. And yeah, I really it was a fun time, man. It really was. This is pre GoPro. This is, like it was really raw. And I think I bought a couple of cameras and FX, I think FX1s, a couple of FX1s, and just gave it a go, man. And we did it. It was fun. Yeah.
Are you still aspiring to create films, or is that just
Yeah.
market too?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, I'd love to get into. I'd love to do another, another film, something, like a film festival style film of, but because I like the, I do love the natural world. I do love the David Attenborough style film, but that human element I think is so important to telling a story and really helping, I guess, the viewer fall in love with the locations and the animals. And I mean, if you want to share what's, these stories about what's left of our wild worlds and what's happening to our animals, I think you need that human element to your story. And but I've never been a huge fan of like bullshit drama. I
Yeah.
want, if I'm going to tell a story, I want it to be as raw and as real as possible. Yeah, so I still enjoy that style of storytelling, you know, who knows? We'll see.
Yeah. I don't know if you can sell anything now without bullshit drama. That's all there is.
Well, maybe not. But I mean, I think, at the same time, YouTube has been a great tool for stuff like that. And being able to, I'll just every once in a while when I'm out there, I'll grab my phone, and my phone's been my best friend right now as far as filming stories. As far as the human element, I'll just turn it on myself and just share a moment, because it just I think really more than anything, what I really enjoy about the filmmaking process is the moments, being in the moment, being out there, and then filming the experience as it's happening. That's to me the best um, way to tell any story.
With all these different species that you've branched out with, which one is sitting at the top right now?
I think the orca is probably my probably that one animal that is just like captured me. And it's just so much to learn about them. I mean, it's probably one of the most exciting of the animals that I've gotten to spend some time with. And yeah, the orca. I think if I had to like choose one animal to spend the rest of my life with, it would probably be the orca. Not that I want to, but but if it was, that would be the animal.
I would have guessed that's what you're going to say. I mean, I saw that you've dove with them, and I was just like, I don't know how it couldn't be the orca. Everybody says this about the orca. Pretty much.
I mean, I mean, it's the one of the top predator on the planet. One of the most misunderstood animals. Just massively intelligent, smarter than us, and I think even more highly evolved. And it's just yeah, what an amazing predator. Yeah, it's a cool animal.
Tell us one story before I let you go. One story that people haven't heard yet. A really cool one.
Oh, geez, it's difficult. Well, it happened this past, this past year when we were with the anacondas. We found a big female who was resting in the shallows, and so we were trying to kind of. She was like resting right on the bank, and so we were trying to edge closer to her, but we were going through the water, and as we got closer to her, the mud got deeper and thicker and thicker and thicker, and it got to the point where the mud was so deep that we were probably up to our chest just in mud, and the water was like maybe a foot and a half deep. And then we were, so we were standing in the water like this, probably almost to our shoulders, our chest. And then but completely deep in the mud as we were trying to, because we were trying to get close enough to get some photos of her. Well, the snake decides she wants to move, and we're like, and the only path that she had was to come directly at us. And we're like, okay, at this point, we're not moving, man. We are not like there's nowhere to go. Like there's no way we're going to get out of the way in time for this animal to so that she can, like clear the path. Cause like we're stuck, like we're just completely stuck in the mud. And so the snake actually comes like right by us, and all we could do is just like, don't move, just stop, like don't move. And I mean, this 5 meter anaconda swims right by us, kind of, and just keeps going, man. I mean, she wanted, swam right by us. I mean, she had us, we were completely vulnerable to anything this animal wanted to do. And she just swam by, and there was,
you were immobilized by the mud.
Completely immobilized. Completely. There was nothing we could do. If that snake decided to take a bite out of us or just, coil herself around, I mean, there was nothing we could have done. Nothing, man. And it just also reinforces this idea of like these predators that, a lot of them just want nothing to do with us, man. They're just so we're just so like not on the same level as far as the food chain for these animals, as much as people think we are. We're not. I mean, when things happen, it's because of accidents or because we're encroaching on their habitat. That's really what it boils down to. When you encroach on their habitat, that's when you become food. But other than that, they just want nothing to do with you.
Their priority is survival, which has nothing to do with interacting with you. It has to do with getting the hell away from you.
Yeah.
I mean, she 18 feet with only your heads showing. She could have coiled around every one of your heads and finished you all off at once.
Exactly. Like it was just, thankfully, well, one of the boys was standing next to me. He's a little taller than I am, so he was, he maybe stood out a little more and made it look a little more formidable. I wasn't the only one in the water stuck like that, but it was just one of those moments, and you're like, okay, here it goes. Or you just look at it and you're like, so this is how I die, But yeah, no, they're just, they just want nothing to do with you. And they're brilliant, man. Just a brilliant animals and exciting, to me, that exciting to be around them, exciting to understand their behavior, exciting to share their world and share their, what they do, how they live. And, that to me, I think that's like the most important part of my work at the end of my days, when I'm done everything that I'm, done storytelling, I guess, my only hope is that I was able to share, as much positive things about these animals as I possibly can, Well,
we all certainly appreciate you being out there doing it.
Thank you,
and
man.
Sharing it. And thank you for coming on today. Appreciate your time. Man, I wish it hadn't been a decade in between.
Yeah, I know, man. That was a long time. I didn't realize that until you mentioned it. It's been a while, a little grayer and
Yeah.
But the Arctic blonde, baby.
Yeah.
Well,
Eli, thank you for joining us, and hopefully we'll run into each other out there in the wild.
Absolutely, man. Would love that. Thank you, brother.
Remember, if you want to go diving with Eli, go on one of his adventures, it's sdmdiving.com. Someone like Eli, his experience, there's always questions that you wish you would have asked once the video is over, so you can be assured that Eli will be on again. So think about things that I should have asked Eli for the next episode. Leave them in the comments. And if you want to see more of Eli and me, check out a few of the other videos that we did together in the past, including one that I'm sure came up in some people's minds about whether or not this type of ecotourism is teaching sharks to eat people. All right, until the next episode, I'm Skyler Thomas. Thanks for watching and listening.